Welcome back. This is our third video in this series on getting started using the software called Processing and Python. Okay, so if you are new to generative art, you're in the right place. This video will help. I hope you've already watched one and the sets of videos 1 as well as 2, because we're going to build on that. In this video, we're going to look at two concepts. That's it. How to repeat, how to use the power of repetition, and how to bring in randomness to our generative art. Okay, without further ado, first let's switch to repetition. In repetition, when we say repetition in Python, one easy way to do this, and this is the way that we look at, is to use for loops. But the power of a repetition is that by making small changes, I mean, you can make big changes also, you can get very many different effects going on. And I'll show you many examples of that. Now, one small note, if you are completely new, or if you're new to Python, or if you'd like a refresher, I have a link right here. I'll add it right here to a video that I made earlier for people getting started using Python. It's called Control of Flow. Do watch that. It'll definitely be helpful. It's only a few minutes. Anyway, one of the things that we could do is I could say that my variable x, for x in range 100, right? In this case, this loop is going to execute 100 times, and x will start with value 0, because in Python we start from 0 and it will go 0, 1, 2, 3 all the way to 99. It will not take on the value 100. So you could do 100 different things in this loop. Or you could actually say something like this, that my size, for size in a list 8, 10, 12, 18. So this time the variable size will, first time this loop will run 4 times. It will take on the value 8, then it will be 10, then 12, and 18, and so on. And you could use that size for maybe your stroke weight, or you can draw the shape size. You can use it however you like. The third way would be again to sort of define a list here of, let's say, colors in this case, and then you can say for C in colors. So this variable C will first take on this value, which is red, and then it will take this value and this value. Okay, so there are many ways that we could be using for loops. Let's look at how we could use a loop to get repeated shapes. Look at it, it's literally 2 lines of code. There is we're going to define a function setup like we've done in our earlier videos. The size of my canvas is 400 by 400 pixels. And here, using just these 2 lines, we can now create a whole bunch of rectangles. So let's understand it. For x in range 0 to 300, 30. So x will start from value 0 and go up to, but not including 300, in steps of 30. So x will be 0, 30, 60, 90, and so on, and then it will go to 270, but it will not go to 300. Then what do I do with x? I'm drawing a rectangle whose x coordinate is this value x, whose y coordinate is also this value x. So first time it will be 0, 0, then 30, 30, 60, 60. So it looks like these rectangles are diagonally stepping down. But look at it, even though I've been calling them rectangles, the height and the width both are 20. So this is actually a square. So it's going to draw 10 squares starting from 0, 0 and going all the way to 270, 270. That's it. So if you run this, you should get these, you should be able to see these 10 squares. Okay. So this program is available, repetition._1.py, but I think it's only 2 lines of code. You should probably type it yourself just to get a feel for it and try changing things. Let's look at loops some more. In the second example, I'm going to, same thing. I'm this time going to try to change the shape and the size itself. Change the size of this shape, I guess. The size of the canvas is the same. I'm going to pick a color 100, 200, 0. I just randomly pick this. It's a greenish color because green RGB, G is bigger. Now, it's the same loop. So we know that y is going to take on 10 values from 0 to 270 in steps of 30. And then I'm saying rectangle 20. So this rectangle will always start from x value is 20. I never change it. So all 10 rectangles will start from x is equal to 20. But y value is going to be, first time it will be 0, 20, 0, then 20, 30, then 20, 60, and so on. And also look at what is happening to its width. First time its width is 20 plus 0, so width is only 20. But the second rectangle has 20 plus 30, so width is 50. Then it becomes 80, then 110, and so on. But its height is constant. Okay, I'm not changing the height at all. It's always 20. So if you run this, you should get a series of green bars or green horizontal rectangles of increasing width. So you should get something like this. Okay, hope that was clear. I don't mean to go too fast, but you saw what happened, right? We are drawing all these rectangles. Now, to challenge yourself to make sure that you understood this, I want you to think about this one. I've not changed the code. This is exactly what we went over. We know that these 4 or 5 lines generate this picture, right? Which is available. But if you wanted to create something like this, so this time in each row, I want to create one small rectangle and then this guy, then so on. But this is increasing and these rectangles are decreasing in size. It turns out that you can do this with just simply adding one line of rect, right? One more rectangle. So you have to decide what should be the x value, what should be the new y value, what should be the new width, and what should be the height. Notice that the height is not changing, but the width is changing. It starts with a big wide rectangle, and as you go down, it's decreasing. So if you can figure these 4 out, then you know that you've understood loops and you've understood shapes rectangle very well. So do try it. The solution is there. I've already posted it in GitHub, rep_challenge.py. But don't look at it, don't peek. Try to figure it out. Once you've created it, that's the only way to learn. Then you can verify your answer against mine. Okay, one more example of using a loop, but this time we're going to change both the color as well as change the size. So I have a list of 5 colors here. Again, the same thing, nothing has changed. Size is 400, 400. But this time I'm only going to loop through y 5 times. Okay, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Each time I'm going to change the fill to be colors of y. So the first time when y is 0, it will say colors of 0. So it will pick this color, then color of 1, colors of 2, colors of 3, colors of 4, and that will be done. But also, so once I change the color, I'm drawing a rectangle from 20. But look at the y value. Y value is 100. At least it starts from 100 and plus 25 star 1, 25 star 0, right? So first 100 plus 0, then 100 plus 25, 100 plus 50. So 100, 125, 150. 175, 200, and so on. And what is the width? The width again is 200 plus 10 times. So the width is at least 200, and then it goes more and more as y keeps increasing. But I don't change the height. I just leave it at 20. Okay, so the x doesn't change, starting value doesn't change, height doesn't change, but the color changes, the width changes, and the y value changes. So we should get 5 rectangles of different colors and increasing width, which is what we are doing here. Okay. Try this out, make sure you understand this, because then you can use it to good effect. That's probably good enough about sort of for loop and repetition. So now let's switch to one more topic, which is how to bring in randomness in your generative code. Okay, and processing makes this really, really easy. In fact, the command is simply called random, and you have to give it a number. If you give it one number, it will give you a floating point or a number that generates by default from 0 to the number you specified. So random of 1 will give you a fraction or a decimal number between 0 and 1. Maybe that number is 0.5393, or maybe it is 0.3022. Okay. So each time you run this, you're going to get a different number and you can use that. You can do something else now. Now that we know how to do that, random of 2 will give you, so let's understand this, right? Random of 2 will give you a number, a decimal from 0 to 2. So it could be 1.6, 1.9. It cannot be 2, but it can be 1.99, or it can actually be 0 also. So it can be 0.3, 0.79. It could be some number. And then we are taking the integer of it, which means that that integer, if it is less than 1, that integer of it will become 0. And if it is 1.x, let's say it's 1.3 or 1.7, when you take the int of it, it becomes 1. So this is a way for us to generate an integer, either 0 or 1. Okay. So this command is for us to pick between 0 and 1. So we're choosing between 2 numbers, 0 and 1. So the first time I run this, I got a 1, then I could get a 1 again, maybe a 0, and so on. So each time you run it, you will get either a 1 or a 0. On average, they'll be 50-50%. Okay. Here is one more way in which we could use a random. You can actually give it 2 numbers, right? A random 20, 80 will produce a number between 20 and 79.99. So when you take an int of it, you can get any integer between 20 and 79. 80 cannot be there, but you could get 20 very rarely, and some integer between, so it could be 20, 21, 22, 23, so on, all the way up to 79. So these are all different ways in which we can actually get a random number. Now, how do we put that in our generative art? Here is one way where we could, instead of, you see, last time we used from a list, we picked based on the index, right, 0, 1, 2, 3, but we could make it random. So the same list, exact same list of colors, but I'm going to create a variable called pick, and then I'm saying this is going to be an integer between an integer from 0, 1 to random between from 0 to 5, right? So it's going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So once I have this integer, I could use this. I could say colors of pick, right? So if let's say that this whole thing, this number came out to be 3, then I'll say colors of 3. So it will be 0, 1, 2, 3, and I'll pick this 3, 6, 2, 2. 5E, I'll pick that hexadecimal color. Each time, next time I run it, I may pick another color. So you see the power of this and the value. Even though I have only 5 colors, I can call this hundreds of times and still get one of these picked randomly. Okay. And here is one example where I'm saying that I'm going to, this we're getting ambitious, so we're going to run this 400 times. I'm going to make a loop, and each time I'm going to pick one number between 0 to 5. I'm going to change my stroke, which means my pen color is going to be the color based on this number. So I'm going to, each time I'm going to change the pen color, and I'm going to draw a line. So I'm going to draw 400 lines, each time with a different or randomly picked color out of 5 colors. And where is that line going to go? The line will see this y comma y. So first let's pay attention. Y is our index. So these are all horizontal lines because they x1, y1, x2, y2. Since these two are the same, it's y doesn't vary at all. It's going to be a horizontal line. I'm going to draw 400 horizontal lines, but the x value will randomly start between 0 to 100. So it could be 0, it could be 99 point something. So it's anywhere there. Of length, no, sorry, its ending point x2 is 250 plus random. So this line will be at least 250 pixels long, and it could be longer or shorter depending on what the random numbers. So if you run this, this code is actually available in GitHub called random_1.py, and this is what I got when I ran it once. Okay, good. Now that we have learned two things, we've learned how to create repetition using floats, for loop, and how to use random. Let's see how we can make a grid. It turns out that in generative art, people generally like to start with a grid in which they fill up with different shapes and different sort of decorations, if you will, aesthetics on it, and create very interesting effects. So it's good to know how to create a grid. It's really easy in Python and processing. Instead of one for loop, we're going to be using two loops. Okay. So first we say for x in range 10. So x can take on values 0 to 9. For y in range 10, it will also go from 0 to 9. And then I'm going to pick a random color based on from my color list. And then I will pick the fill color based on this. So I'm just changing the color of whatever I'm going to do. And then I'm going to create. So this loop will run, these two loops will run 100 times, right? 10 times 10. So I'm going to draw 100 rectangles. First look at their width and height. They're both the same. So I'm actually drawing 100 squares of 20 by 20 with a random color filled there. Where will each square start? It will start 40 star x. So when x is 0, it will start from 40, 40, 40. Y changes much more rapidly, right? It's the inner loop. So first time y will be 40 times 0. So it's 0. Then it will be 40 times 1, 40. Then 80, then 120, and so on. So I'm going to draw the first column starting from 0, then 0, 0, 0, 40, 0, 80, and so on. And then I'll draw 40, 40, 0, 40, 40, and so on. So I'm going to draw 100 squares, and if you do run this, this code is again also available. I think it's called grid_1.py, and this is what I got when I ran it. And the reason I show this is, see, with literally 4 or 5 lines of code, you can actually start getting some effects. Now, please do play around with this. Try changing the shape of the rectangle. Instead of making it a square, see if you can make it longer or shorter. Also see if you can make it such that for each column you choose one random color, but in that same column the color should be the same. And also see if you can make it such that for each row the color is the same. Okay, so these are all challenges that you can try. This is really all I wanted to cover in this video, but since you've watched for so long, I like to throw in one bonus if you don't mind. It should take a minute or two, but watch it. I'm going to actually go to the code in a minute and show you, but let's first understand. This bonus is to introduce a new concept for us called MouseX. Okay. So I want to define the function draw. Draw, as you recall from video 1, is executed once per frame. And what am I doing here? I'm redrawing my entire background to be white, and then I'm going to draw 400 times. I'm going to draw a line for y in range 400. You've seen this before. I'm picking a random color, nothing changed there, but I'm making a small change here. I'm saying x is equal to be a random number. Okay, so x could be 79, 73, 29, whatever it may be. So from x to x plus mouse x, and from y to y. So again, these are all horizontal. And where does y come from? Y would first be 0, then 1, 2, 3, all the way to 399. So there are going to be 400 horizontal lines. But it will start from y and go into y plus mouse x. So wherever my cursor is, that decides how wide the lines are going to be. Let's go to the code and take a look at that now. So here is the code. You've seen most of this before. I'm creating a canvas of size 400 by 400. Notice that from setup, I move to a different function called draw, because draw redraws itself every frame. I start by clearing my canvas, saying give me a new background. 255 is white, so I completely start with a fresh background. And then in a loop, I'm going to do this 400 times. I'm picking a color. Okay, I'm changing my pen color to be a random, one of those random colors. And then I'm setting my x value, which is where my line is going to start, to be a random number between 0 to 100. And then notice how I'm drawing a line. I'm doing this 400 times, but I'm drawing a line here from x to x plus mouse x, which is what we're going to see. And the y value continues to be the same. So since y goes to y, these are all horizontal lines, and it will go from x, which is a random number, to that random number plus my mouse value. And to see the effect of this, let me try and show it to you. If I can, yeah, once I run this, if I can bring it up here, can you see? Hopefully it's visible that my mouse X decides how long these lines should be. So with my mouse, I can just sort of control whether these random lines are long or short. Okay, that's essentially what I wanted to show. That's really all I wanted to cover in this video. But please don't stop here. You've come this far. So do watch the other videos in this playlist on getting started using Python and processing. Hope that was useful, and thank you so much for your time.